Hello, it's Garth Nix here. I'm going to read a little piece from Clariel, the new Old Kingdom book from Hotkey Books. Here it is, looking lovely. And this is a little passage from near the beginning of the book where Clariel has gone to have charter magic lessons from a man called Cargren, and she's meeting him for the first time. "Curious," said Cargren. "I wonder what you would do if..." His fingers arched and suddenly shards of sharp metal spat straight at her. Shards of charter marks conjured so swiftly that he must have already had most of the spell put together and hidden on his person, waiting only a single mark to activate it. Clariel reacted instantly, ducking under the shards, but even so she felt the heat of their passage above her head. "What are you doing?" squeaked Clariel. Raising her voice, she shouted, "Robin, help!" "Use the charter!" bellowed Cargren, his eyes intent on her own. "Defend yourself!" His fingers arched again, and more red-hot shards spat forth, missing Clariel's shoulder by a hair's breadth, as she twisted violently aside and collided with the edge of the table. "Use the charter!" Cargren shouted again, stamping his foot. Charter marks blew up under his heel, forming a swirling cloud that rolled over Clariel, enveloping her in a choking mist. She dived onto the table, slid across it on her stomach, and went over the other side, ending up on all fours on the floor, her knees and hands smarting in pain, but with the cloud behind her. Cargren came round the end of the table, advancing upon her, his hands out in a spell-casting gesture. Clariel retreated, stood upright and backed away. Anger was building inside her, anger fueled by pain and humiliation. Her knife was in her hand now, though she did not remember drawing it. How dare he suddenly attack her, she thought. Why should she use charter magic anyway? She wanted to charge straight at the great bull of a man and twist this way and strike, the knife parting his throat on the diagonal. Even before she knew it, she was sliding forward, her arm going up, moving as swiftly as she ever had, fast as a kite dropping on a vole in the grass. But somehow when she twisted and her arm came across, Cargren's throat was not there. Clariel whirled around, but she could not see him anywhere in the hall. Suddenly a plate dropped on her head, a china plate that shattered into pieces, though its surprise impact hadn't really hurt. Clariel screeched a war cry, her head going back, and saw Cargren standing tiptoe like a dancer on one of the broken beam ends above her head. "Use the charter!" cried Cargren. "Defend yourself!" Rage filled Clariel. Her nostrils flared open as she exhaled and almost closed shut as she breathed in. She picked up one of the massive benches and threw it up at Cargren, but he jumped away, across 12 feet or more to the next beam, an impossible jump were he not aided by some magic. Clariel dropped her knife and ran towards him, raging. She swarmed up the wall, her fingers thrust into the tiniest cracks between stones, dislodging ancient mortar. But even so she could not find enough hand and footholds. She fell back, immediately circling to find a weapon, something to throw at the enemy above her. But even as her hand closed upon a fallen piece of stone the size of an apple, a glowing net of charter marks fell on her from above, wrapped itself around her 3 times, and bound her as securely as a spider ever tied a fly. Clariel thrashed in her binding, enough to bruise herself more, and perhaps would even have dashed her own brains out on the floor if Cargren had not dropped lightly by her side and laid a spell for sleep upon her brow, quickly followed by another, stronger spell, when the first one was shrugged off by the anger that shone from her, like the heat from one of her mother's forges, busy smelting gold.